What's going on out there? I'm Sean Devine. Hope you all are doing well. Today I have a quick tutorial where I wanted to go through creating patterns for the Roland TR-08. This unit did not come with a manual, and if you're like me and you're not necessarily as familiar with sort of the classic feel of a drum machine, you know, this is from a couple decades back. So the workflow is quite a bit different. The way things are set up is probably much different than what some of you are used to in a typical DAW. So I went to look for some videos on creating patterns and things, and the tutorials, while they did the job, they weren't the easiest to follow. So I wanted to just show my workflow with the 08 and creating patterns so that hopefully this can clarify a lot of the different functions and can get you up and running, creating your own beats on the 08 very quickly. So first of all, we need to go over to pattern clear, which is this message here. You can see signified. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to clear out. Let's just go to 9, or we'll go to 8. What the heck? So I'm going to go to this pattern here, 8, and then I'm going to hit this red button. And that's going to show clear up here on our message. So we've got a clear pattern, and then we'll go to 9 as well, and we'll clear that one. So now let's go back to 8. And what we need to do to go ahead and start programming our beats is move this now to first part. Now you have first part and second part. So we're not going to talk about the second part today because it's essentially the same thing as the first part. It just gives you an alternate variation for a pattern. So it just gives you more flexibility in terms of creating beat arrangements. But we're just going to do the first part today. So to start programming your beat, all you need to do is move the instrument select to whichever instrument you want or drum sound. So I'm going to go to bass drum. We'll do that first. And then we're just going to hit start stop. And you'll see the lights going through our 16 steps here. So I'm going to adjust the tempo. We'll make it a little faster. Let's try 110. And then you can just start programming in some notes. Okay, so you'll notice up here in this basic and variation, we have an A and a B. So it's cycling through and it's an A, and then it's going to the variation, which is B. Now you can just put it on A or just B. Or when it's in A, B, again, it just goes back and forth between those two. So now we'll move it to snare drum. Let's program a simple snare pattern here. We'll click this. And moving along, let's go up to the clap. And we'll move over to closed hi-hats. Oops. So I switched patterns here. You got to remember, if the start stop's not on, you'll switch patterns. So we need to go back to 8. Okay, so now if we want to do some like ghost notes and things like that, all we have to do is hold down the menu button while we're going through here, and then we can click on where we want to program that note. So let's do that. So you can hear we get the faster hi-hat notes there. And let's do maybe one more, maybe an open hi-hat. Now, the cool thing that I didn't realize either, and if you haven't used an 808, you probably wouldn't know, you can program these actually by playing the notes as well. So you don't just have to be in the grid here. So for instance, if we hit play, All right, so we just programmed a basic pattern there. Now, if we go to manual play, this is where we can just switch back and forth between our patterns. Let's go ahead and make one more pattern on 9 just really quickly. And I'm going to show you how to copy the pattern that we just did to another pattern here. This is something, again, that was not very clear. But all we need to do is just go back into our first part, pattern right, and then we're going to hold down tap, and you're going to see a copy menu come up. The important thing is here that you want to select first the pattern that we're copying to. So I made this mistake. Go ahead and select. So we're going to copy to 9 from 8, but we need to put it on 9, then hold copy, hit 8, and then hit start stop. And that will move that now to 9. So we've got the same pattern here. And let's just change the bass drum pattern a little bit on this one. Maybe we want to add a cymbal here real quick. So I'm going to put that cymbal on the downbeat. All right, so now we can go up to manual play and we can switch between these patterns. And also we have fills up here. So you can program the fills the exact same way that you would these patterns here. So for instance, let's just go back to the first part right, and then I'm gonna go in and select maybe fill 16. And let's just see, this should be empty. Let's just do something really simple with the toms here. So we'll just do low tom, do 4 of these, 4 of the mid tom, 4 of the high tom, and then snares. Okay, so that's now on our fill. So when we go back to manual play now, if I'm on this pattern we just made, and I want to use that fill, all I have to do is tap this, and then I have it on manual. So whenever I tap it, it's going to go into the fill. Now you can program this to come in after, say, 8 bars, 4 bars, 2 bars, whatever, but we're going to put it on manual. And then it will go back into the pattern. All right, so we've just programmed a basic pattern there, actually a couple patterns as well as a fill, and I've showed you just the general workflow of getting your patterns in. Again, we can program them by actually tapping the notes, or you can go in and do it, sequencer style there, and then we can program our fills the same way. Not going to talk about the rhythm track. That's just basically putting these patterns together in a way that creates a full arrangement or a song. Where manual play is more of just an improvisation. You're playing like a jam and triggering back your patterns and fills. Obviously, the tone controls and all that stuff, pretty self-explanatory. If you do want to edit your sounds more than what you hear right now, obviously you do. So if you hit menu and then you can scroll through with this value knob, you'll see things like gain, tuning. So for instance, if with the kick drum, also, if you go to just gain, you can just play it like a kind of new school drum machine, like an MPC or something, where you're actually clicking the notes and playing the 808 like an instrument. So anyways, y'all, I hope that gets you started with programming your own beats. It was a little unclear to me just because, again, I haven't used a vintage drum machine like this, at least in a long time, and certainly not the actual 808. I have tons of 808 samples, but using it with this workflow is quite a unique experience, but it's really fun once you start getting used to it. And again, I just hope this gets you up and running faster and gives you some general understanding so you can start enjoying the 08. If you have any questions about programming your own patterns with the Roland TR-08, feel free to leave a comment below. If you learned anything in the video, please like, subscribe, and consider sharing. And we'll talk to you soon.